Good evening. Welcome everyone to our panel discussion for Inclusivity in Public Art, the Power of Community. My name is Amanda Poss. I'm the Gallery Director at Hillsborough Community College. And I'm also the Committee Chair for Grounds4Art at HCC, which oversees public art initiatives at the college. This is our fourth installment in our event series about our new public art project, Nest, that will be completed at the HCC Dale Mabry and Ybor City campuses in the spring of 2021. Nest, which stands for Nourishment, Education, and Social Terraces, will be led by artist Tory Tepp, and it will result in the creation of 2 flexible use green spaces at each campus. And this will be open to both students and community members alike. Our events this fall are meant to educate the community about our project and its goals, as well as, and this is the important part, to get your feedback, to hear your insights, and to allow you to ask questions. A few quick things about our Zoom meeting, and then I'll start moving it along to our speakers. As you might have noticed, we are recording this event, and we will work to make it available online on our YouTube channel. Simply follow us at Gallery221 HCC if you want to be notified immediately when new content is available. You may notice also that all of our participants tonight are muted. This is not because we don't want to hear from you, quite opposite. We just want to allow our speakers to be able to talk without disruption. So instead, I would encourage you to put your comments, say hello, and importantly, ask questions in the chat at any time during the event. We will reserve some time after the panel discussion for your questions, and we'll be addressing them in the order in which they appear. Now it is my great pleasure to introduce Amy Bousquet, the Dean of Associate and Art Programs at the HCC Dale Mabry campus, for a few words of welcome and thanks. So Amy, when you're ready, go ahead and unmute and share your video, and go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm delighted to welcome you all tonight. On behalf of our campus president, Dr. Alan Witt, and the entire Dale Mabry leadership team, I welcome you all to our program, Inclusivity in Public Art, the Power of Community. What a title, what words, right? Inclusivity increases the diversity of users, the level of quality, and the degree of accessibility of a public space. In the longer term, inclusion can foster social resonance or the ability of a group of people to adapt to stresses in the social, economic, or even physical environment. I cannot think of a better time to have this type of a conversation. And I'm so grateful to Amanda Poss and her entire Nest project team for creating this type of important programming during, frankly, a really needed time to have these kind of conversations. And so now I want to get to the program. I know you're all excited to hear from our fabulous speakers. So I would like to just spend a couple of moments thanking folks, because you know what? An event like this doesn't come together overnight, and it doesn't come together with just a few folks. So if you just indulge me a little bit, I would like to express, first of all, our sincere gratitude to our entire Nest sponsors and community partners. Their sponsorship, commitment, and financial support is what makes this project possible. We are so thankful and so grateful for the opportunity to work with them on this important project. Also, thanks to, of course, the college, HCC, for its support, and especially the Nest steering team, which is made up of our HCC faculty, staff, students, and some local community partners. I'd also like to thank our gallery team for working tonight. Amanda Poss, Emiliano Sitacasi, and Mark Miller. This team, can I just stop a second and tell you about this team? This team is amazing. They're like the dream team. They've turned our campus, what Amanda Poss and her team has been, under her leadership, has been able to do on our campus is simply amazing. You know, there are days when it's a little much what's going on, and you just need to walk around, and you walk around and you see the beauty of what she's done. And so we are incredibly grateful, because these are projects that will live on, and she's creating and taking our space and making a beautiful public space. And there's just no words to be thankful for that. Our team is comprised of amazing, talented people with passion and purpose for making their community a better place to live. That is for sure. And a better place to work too. We all owe a great deal of debt to them. And for that, I am most grateful. Finally, our sincere appreciation for the speakers tonight. Thank you for sharing of your time, your generosity, and your experience. And with that, back to you, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Amy. You're so kind as always. As we prepare to hear from our panelists this evening, I want to introduce to you a special guest, Tory Tepp, who, as I mentioned, is our lead artist for Nest. And he's going to tell you a little bit more about his work and about the project. So Tory, when you're ready, go ahead and unmute.
Hi there. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. I just want to say it's a real honor to be a part of this project and a part of this community heading into this project. I couldn't be more delighted to have this role and be joining this community for the next probably 6 months. A little bit about myself. I used to be a painter, a painting major and an object maker, and I still do it. Now it's just for fun and not for not towards any kind of real purpose. But eventually that stopped working for me. And so I was in Los Angeles and it was just a matter of great timing where a brand new program under the leadership of Suzanne Lacey was starting a public practice program, which was all about social practice, community engaged practice. I spoke a bit about that in the last talk. And I kind of got steered into that because it was pretty apparent to all my peers that I was pretty disgruntled with the idea of making things and just selling them, and I needed an outlet. So that program kind of gave me the opportunity to explore different mediums and different platforms. The main one that I dove into was making earthworks, and that led me down a whole series of rabbit holes that were all about saving my materials and designing public space and learning how to deal with living things. And so the way that my whole trajectory kind of got started was simply preserving the soil from that piece you just saw, and it all went back into my studio in Frogtown, and I had a 3-foot by 36-foot diameter pile of soil inside my studio that I just had to get rid of. And that led to just simply making gardens out on the street in Los Angeles. And this was never intended to be part of an art project. I just had to get rid of the dirt. And so all of these materials came from old art, one of Suzanne's old installations, and of course that project. And I started growing these gardens on the street, and there just came a point in time when suddenly I was eating fresh produce every day off the street in Los Angeles. And that was just kind of mind-blowing to me. Then I started to really take more notice of what was happening with those gardens. But more importantly, what happened was, I was at the edge of this little light industrial area that was 70% Latino and 30% Asian. And this road went down to the LA River. There was an entrance to the river where there was a walking path. And these community members would walk past these gardens on the way there. And the real importance of what happened here was that the gardens became a common point of dialogue for me to have with my community, a community that I was not a part of, that I had no history with, but they would stop and they would look at the produce and talk to their kids, and we would share the produce, and then they started bringing me seeds. And it really became this beautiful moment where I was able to have a dialogue with the community that I was not actually a part of. And it really led to a wonderful project after that, the Subvert LA. So those two things, working with the soil and using sustainable materials, along with creating these platforms by which communities can have a dialogue, that has kind of become the central focus of most of my work. They've taken on a definitively agricultural bent, especially after my time up here in Wisconsin. But with my work, I kind of see myself in most instances as a set builder or a facilitator. where we engage in a conversation, and I help build a set for the community to have their own dialogue or to write their own script. And so here with Nest, what we're trying to do is create some beautiful interactive green spaces that aren't just a park or a sculpture, but actually continue to engage the HCC community for the next several years. And in getting your feedback from these talks, it's my hope that we can together help develop some kind of platform that will both be productive in terms of providing food and also offering an engaging environment and an engaging public space for the HCC community to enjoy for the next several years.
Thank you so much, Tory. We're really looking forward to the creation of Nest, as I mentioned for you guys. That will happen in the spring, roughly January, February. So stay tuned for more information on that. And now this is my favorite part. We get to actually, Tory and I have been leading a lot of the conversation around Nest so far. And so now we respectfully and humbly will be listening and learning from our panelists. So with that, I'd like to introduce our moderator for tonight's panel, Dr. Rafael Fuentes. Dr. Fuentes is a bilingual English-Spanish counselor in the counseling department at HCC Mabry Campus, and he's a member of our steering committee for Nest. So go ahead, Rafael, whenever you're ready.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, Amanda and the team for having me here and being the MC for this event. And I really appreciate it. And it's an honor to be as part of this event. And thank you everyone who is listening and taking out of your time to join us this afternoon and be able to listen to their stories, to listen about the projects that are happening here in the Tampa Bay community. With that being said, I would like to officially introduce the panelists that we have for this event this afternoon. And I would like to start with Dr. Cheryl Gonzalez. She serves as the Chief Diversity Officer at Hillsborough Community College. Also, we have Ms. Sarah Howard. She's the Curator of Public Art and Social Practice and Research Associate at the University of South Florida Institute for Research in Art. We also have Sam Obeid, works full-time in non-discrimination work as Program Director at Community Tampa Bay. Her other full-time job is as a spoken word poet. And we have Melvin, Langstn, Halsey Jr, and Brianna Walker, are board members of the New Roots Art Collective. Melvin actually is an alumni from HCC, and now he's going into his Bachelor of Arts at the University of South Florida. And also Ms. Brianna Walker is a self-taught painter of 7 years. Her art is inspired by the beauty of Black women, the sky, hues within the Black community, and the bright colors that accentuate those hues. With that being said, let's start. And I would like to start at this moment to talk about some of the projects, the programs that our panelists have been doing in the community. And I would like at this moment to start with Ms. Sarah Howard. Ms. Howard, how are you today?
Hi, thank you.
Welcome. And Ms. Sarah, I would like, as you have been, very active in USF, I would like to know if you can tell me or share with us some kind of programming or project that you have done at the university that is related to diversity and inclusion.
Absolutely. And I just want to say thanks to you, Dr. Fuentes and Amanda and Emiliano and Gallery221 at HCC and the entire Nest committee for inviting me to be part of the panel and the amazing artists and art advocates. So at USF, we're committed to exploring socially engaged artistic practice, focusing on collaborative and participatory forms of exchange with a broad range of artists, audiences, and communities. Throughout its exhibition history, CAM has presented socially engaged projects addressing critical issues and representing diverse perspectives with the aim of educating and engaging new audiences and expanding communities. In January 2019, as part of the exhibition, The Visible Turn, Contemporary Artists Confront Political Invisibility, CAM presented Mexican artist Bosco Soti's performative public art project, Muro, which translates into the English language as Wall. Curator curated by CAM Curator at Large, Christian Viveros-Funet, The Visible Turn presented the work of 4 international artists responding to the phenomenon of cultural concealment, bringing to light people and ideas that have been crucially omitted from today's social, political, economic, and cultural processes. Known for his use of raw and natural materials to create large-scale, richly textured paintings and objects, Sodhi focuses on the material exploration, the creative gesture, and the spiritual connection between himself and his work, seeking to transcend the limitations of purely conceptual barriers. On January 24th, 2019, 2 days before the United States government's longest shutdown came to an end, CAM's team, along with student volunteers, started constructing the installation, an approximately 6-foot high by 20-foot long wall constructed with 1,080 unique clay bricks. Sodhi had conceptualized this work while working with local craftsmen at his studio in Oaxaca, Mexico, where he has a community-engaged artist residency and foundation called Casa Wabi. While constructing the bricks he calls clay timbers for an upcoming project, he was listening to the worries of the workers that their dreams of immigrating to the US were in jeopardy because of Trump's threat of a border wall. Sodhi realized the bricks they were forming, made with clay from Mexico through hand labor by Mexicans, when stacked, started to resemble a wall. So Sodhi decided to pack up the bricks and present Muro as his first public artwork and social exercise. He transported them to the US by truck, following the same route that immigrants might take from Mexico to arrive in New York or Florida. Muro was first erected in New York's Washington Square Park in 2017, following the US administration's announcement of a rollback of Obama's Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals DACA program, protecting Dreamers from deportation. Then in 2018, Muro was performed in front of the National Theatre in London and was then installed at USF CAM in Tampa at the beginning of 2019. Following the construction of the wall, the public was invited to dismantle the wall brick by brick and take one home with them as a gift of the artist, collectively becoming co-owners of the work of art. The project expands upon Sodhi's ongoing interest in organic processes beyond the artist's control. The impermanent nature of Muro underscores the sentiment that all obstacles and barriers have the potential to be dismantled through collective effort. So we were charged with how to get 1,000 plus people to show up for a one-day event, and we had to develop a strategy to expand our audience and awareness of the project. One way is to entice participants with a takeaway gift of art, and each of the 1,080 brick timbers was sealed with the artist's signatures and was distributed to participants with a custom printed carrying bag and certificate of authenticity. In addition to our usual promotional strategies of distributing invites and press releases to our media and email lists, we initiated personal invitations and press releases to immigrant communities, including Mexican, Hispanic, and Latinx civic organizations and media outlets months in advance. We expanded accessibility by coordinating tours with the Hispanic Outreach Center in Clearwater, who brought in a number of families, along with our annual tour with Blake High School visual arts students, as well as USF classes and organizations. Tours of the museum exhibition led by artists and curators were offered in Spanish and English. For many of these young visitors, it was their first time on a college campus or in a museum. The ability to have direct access to the artist, specifically one who can serve as a role model for catalyzing community and champion for social justice, and hear him talk about the work that may speak to their own experience, offers a powerful impression and memorable shared experience. Muro physically and metaphorically emphasizes how the power of people, when united for a collective cause, can dismantle barriers and obstacles of any kind. Thank you.
Wow, what a meaningful message, and how amazing, what putting bricks together and bringing the community together, it's a beautiful way to speak up and be able to really kind of make some connection and the people to kind of have some value and sentiments to it. So thank you so much for this wonderful very comprehensive explanation. And you can tell, as Ms. Howard shared with us, how amazing and how beautiful is our community in the Tampa Bay. So thank you so much, Ms. Howard, for such amazing information. And we really appreciate it. And thank you for being with us tonight. So with that being said, I would like at this point to take the opportunity to introduce Sam Obeid. Yes, Sam, it's your turn. And I would like for you to share with us what kind of projects are happening or some kind of events that you have done that is related to diversity and inclusion. Tell us about it.
Thank you so much, Rafael. I really appreciate being here. Thank you so much, Amanda, for inviting me into the space. And thank you so much, all of y'all, for allowing me to share the space with you. So in, I think it was January of this year, I shared a project. I did a project with HCC. It was one of the first pieces that I did that was installation type, where, you know, I shared some of the documentation and video footage that I had taken when an immigration situation had sent me back to India in 2018. And after having done that project and seen how people interacted with the project, I wanted to move forward and create more space for people to interact with what immigration projects look like. The thing is, in the US, oftentimes when we talk about immigration, we don't talk about immigration in a comprehensive manner, right? We talk about DACA, we talk about undocumented humans, and that is the limited knowledge that people have when it comes to immigration. Two very important aspects of immigration, DACA and undocumented humans for sure, but we don't talk about what the entire immigration process looks like, therefore giving people a firm understanding about how difficult it is to not just come to the United States, but also to continue to live in the United States and build a full life in the United States, when immigration by itself provides you with such a precarious platform within which you're expected to build your life, right? And so I wanted to continue to create spaces where we can dialogue around this, but I also wanted people to not just have to dialogue with me about it. And as a poet, oftentimes you do a spoken word poem, there's a stage, you do a spoken word poem on stage, and then the conversation happens afterward, but the conversation typically happens between the poet and an audience member that's waiting to meet you. But then I figured if I was able to take that art a step further and allow people to engage with my poetry without necessarily having to engage with me, then they can take back a piece of what they are seeing in that poem, either to their homes or their schools or other communities they are part of, or even if they're observing that poem in a community space together, they can then begin to dialogue about it, right? And so I've been working on this idea for a short period of time, but because of COVID, I'm trying to figure out what methods I can use to actually realize it. And what I want to do is I want to put together, I have roughly about 17 pounds of immigration paperwork from the day from before I got here to now being here. It's about 13 years that I've been here. And so I want to put that paperwork together, make copies of it, have humans that are not a part of my life create a collage of those copies on a roughly 6x4 canvas. And then through the process of redaction, which has come to become very much a process of immigration too, through the process of redaction, create a poem upon that canvas. And then I would like for that canvas to live in a social justice space. There is a particular church that I have in mind. That is a church that is in Pinellas County. They are actively involved in social justice work. They're very, very active in the community and speaking against injustice and speaking for inclusion and equity. So I would like to be able to host that piece in that space where there can be a time frame where when I'm working on it, people can come and observe me working on it. But once I leave too, they can then interact with the poem in how they choose to read it, in how they choose to find it, in how they choose to create sentences from it, and what those sentences mean to them with all of these words removed, right? And I'm hoping that when they see what it looks like to be constantly in your paperwork called an alien, or constantly, told you are not admitted. This is not a documentation of admittance. This is not a documentation of stay. When you see ineligible presenting itself so many times in the same sheet of paper, in the same paragraph, what that makes them feel on the inside, I think will then reassert that conversation with other people on the outside. And so that is a future project that I am looking at doing, Rafael.
Wow, Sam, so inspiring. And, you so right on point when it comes about immigration and things that at times people have such a big misunderstanding. And many times people who are just afraid to speak up. And because unfortunately they create this kind of persona that immigration is against you. And they are afraid just to speak up. So I can tell, I love the passion and the dedication and the love that you put into all of these, and better to kind of show this love and art through your poetry. So that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing this beautiful information. So with that being said, I would like to now take the opportunity to bring to the table Dr. Cheryl Gonzalez. Dr. Gonzalez, ¿cómo estás? Buenas tardes. Tell us about it. What's going on?
Thank you all so very much. What a delightful evening listening to everyone. Amanda, thank you. Sarah Howard, a great inspiration. Sam, loved the story. Langstn, we can't wait to hear from you again. And Tory Tepp, just fantastic. And Briauna Walker, and to you, Dr. Fuentes, thank you so much. I am Chief Diversity Officer at Hillsborough Community College, but it's so engaging because it's just more than about recruitment and equity from the standpoint for students and staff and faculty. It's more than about policy setting and implementation and executing and investigating complaints. All of those, that's standard, that's good. But when we talk about equity, we're talking about ensuring fair treatment, fairness, and access to information, as well as opportunities and resources for all. We're talking about the environmental aspects where we want to build on and respect one another with dignity and caring. Inclusion, having that welcoming environment where we're building a culture of belonging through intentionally seeking the contributions and participation of all in an organization. So we can also say all in a community, all in public spaces and places. My experience has been along the lines of working in policy setting, looking at setting vision and being a part of strategic planning and direction for a municipality in the state of Florida. From that, there was and still is a council on, might as well say, Council on Culture and Arts, which I was a part of. And it was through that experience that allowed me to understand the need and for space and place in the work. This was in Tallahassee, Florida. Tallahassee was a place that several years ago was just an environment where there was a lot of talk about the plantations, the trees, southern trees and all of that. But the city intentionally decided that we wanted to grow up, become a great place and space to live, but also we wanted it to be a center point for culture. Why? Because Florida State, Florida A&M University, Tallahassee Community College, lots of history there that they wanted to honor. And so, you have things such as Cascades Park. All of these things came from studies and work that was conducted years ago. And so it's coming into fruition. Listening at you talk reminded me, though, of how diversity and inclusion in the arts also can impact construction and building. I remember about a year or so ago being in Wisconsin and hearing a story at a university of how they were in the process of constructing a student union building, and then they discovered that there was a particular tree there that was very close to the indigenous peoples of that area. And you had one group saying, cut the tree down, but they said, no, in honor of the diversity, in honor of inclusion, in honor of the people whose land that building sat on. They decided to build around it, and then they created space where people could go and congregate and understand, to relax and reflect. So this is extremely important, this work. Inclusivity, building culture for Tampa, the Tampa Bay area. What are we saying when you're walking and running and you see art? When you're driving or riding, you see art. You see it on walls, you see it on sidewalks, you see plants that are positioned in a particular way. And then there's things that are placed on, statements placed on bricks, and all of those things are so important. So, you know, I'm pleased to be here to advocate and support the work for inclusivity of the arts in public places. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez, and thank you so much for sharing the beautiful job that you did with the Art Council in Tallahassee, and actually giving us some light of kind of education about it, because, you know, as we are here in the other side of the Florida state, you know, thank you for sharing with us the information about Tallahassee. So, and even though you have been here almost 2 years now, or a year and a half, welcome to Tampa Bay. Now your new home. Yeah.
Thank you. I love it. Thank you.
Yes. So now we would like to take the opportunity to bring to the table Mr. Melvin Langstn and Brianna Walker. And I would like to start at this time with Langstn and to tell us what you have done or what are you planning to do when it comes about a program in diversity and inclusion in our community of Tampa Bay. So now it's your time.
All right. Well, on behalf of myself and New Roots Art Collective, I want to thank you all for allowing us to be here. This is an opportunity that is life-changing to a degree. It's big, and we greatly appreciate it. In terms of a project we worked on, our very first project, for all who may not know, was the street mural, the Black Lives Matter one off of East Cast. It was by Perry Harvey Park. And so that actually came together within 2 to 3 days. And, you know, that's from conception to finding artists to participate and then actually making it happen the day of the event. And at that time, you know, everything was kind of chaos worldwide. And, you know, we wanted to bring something to Tampa that shows that our community can come together and we can share that message on a visual level that, you know, everyone can come out and participate in. It wasn't just limited to a specific, you know, race or belief or anything like that. And for many of us, it was our first time painting a mural, but for a lot, I want to say the majority of us, it was our very first time painting a mural on a street. So it was a huge learning experience. And the highlight of that entire process was the volunteers that showed out. You know, we had an upwards of 200 people, you know, that took time out of their day to come help paint this, but not only just come to paint and leave. We had conversations, we, you know, discussed beliefs. We talked about, you know, the influence behind the art that we were creating. And, you know, it was a melting pot of sorts. And for me, that was something I've never been a part of. You know, like in school, you interact with people, you know, same thing at work, but those are typically places you can't have those conversations. But in that environment that day, we learned a lot and we got to hear people's hearts. And, you know, we were able to express some of the things that we've been through personally, and then how the current events affect us on a day-to-day basis and how it's sort of our reality. And the people we spoke to were receptive to that. You know, they were empathetic and, you know, they were adamant that we're working towards making a change. And that's the least that we can do. You know, we have to start somewhere, and starting in Tampa, because I haven't been here long. I'm not born and raised here, But to see the community come together was amazing. And from that point on, New Roots was formulated probably a week or so before that event. And then since then, we've just been hitting the ground running with trying to bring diversity in the public art scene here in Tampa, create those opportunities for those outside of, who you know or stuff like that, create those opportunities and give them that platform to spread their message. So we, like in the future, we're working on workshops. We have a project we're working on where it ties directly into diversity and inclusion, and just not going into an area and say, hey, we're painting this, whether you like it or not. We're interacting with the community, seeing how they feel, seeing, what they would want to see on a day-to-day basis. What would they want to walk by? Because when we leave, it's something that they live with. And that's huge for us. And with representation, that's huge. Our message, when we go out, is to uplift the community. No matter which community is, no matter where we're going, we want them to feel uplifted. We want them to feel like they're involved in the process. Because we want to spread a message of power and perseverance and pride. And we want them to feel that sense of pride about where they live, where they come from. We don't want to take away from that and, kind of push them out of their own home, But, we have some big things that we're still working on. We're just trying to be the change we want to see. And it's not just with adults. We're really adamant of trying to get to work with kids, teach them, and show them that you can do this through art. You can use your voice through art to say the things that you want to say, that sometimes the words can't come out, but you can express yourself through that art. And, it could be a form of meditation for some, art therapy. But yeah, New Roots is we're going to change a lot.
Very good. Thank you so much, Langstn, for giving us such, beautiful images and giving us information about the mural and the job that you're doing in the community. And also, I would like, because Langstn and Ms. Brianna Walker, they kind of working together in these projects. And I would like, Ms. Walker, if you would like just to add something to the information that Mr. Langstn shared with us.
Hey everyone, hi. Hey, thank you for having me. And I really appreciate, with us being included and hearing everyone's perspective and their own experiences and what they've helped put out into the world and what they've supported. Yes, I am Brianna Walker of New Roots Art Collective. I've been painting for 7 years. And like Melvin said, this group was put together shortly before we did our street mural, which was the Black Lives Matter mural on East Cass in Jefferson, if you want to stop by and see it. So yeah, pretty much like he said, what we're doing is we want to create space for all artists, from all walks of life. A lot of times, like, some of our concern is having to fight through gatekeepers or having to work around people who only choose from the one pot that they've been choosing from. We want to break that down and build something where there isn't just one pot that is being picked from. If you're an artist and you want that opportunity, that we want to see everybody eat. Pretty much, we want to see everybody eating off of their creative energy, off their creative successes. A lot of my art itself is Black joy. And my first piece that I've done of the year, which I believe is the #1 within the pieces that I put on the drive, that one is the one painting that it'll probably be the second one ever, but that one is like a second painting that I've ever done that came from harnessing not so great emotions, because it's what's going on is not good. I feel it all the time. Yeah, I feel it every day, and you see it all the time, and it's almost like, well, you know, you don't know what to do because you cannot escape it. I can't hop out of my body and be somebody else. And every day I walk outside, I feel like, you know, there's eyes on me and I'm forced to look at what's going on in this world that is so bad, when really as a regular human being, I still laugh. I still have joyful times. I still, you know, am fun. I have fun. And in times it feels like the world wants us to wipe away what that joy is and just have us live in constant fear. It's scary out here already. I'm not going to live in constant fear. So my art is meant to portray the joyfulness of being Black and the vibrancies and if that's a word, and the different hues of being Black as well. I use blue a lot because to me being Black is like the music genre, the blues. In the blues, it can be very sad and solemn and just an emotional roller coaster, but just like the blues, it's still beautiful. It's still resilient. So the hues of the blues is just us wearing our skin, walking every day in our skin. You know, a lot of people see it as like, wow, you got to be so strong. If that's the case, I was born strong. Of course, yeah, I was. But we wear those blues on our skin and it's still beautiful. And that's what I try to present. This is a piece I'm working on right now. I was trying to get a lot done, but you know, with there only being 24 hours in the day. But yeah, so I really look forward to working with Melvin and Indy Reese and Ron in the future. And I look forward to working with everyone on this chat as well, possibly in the future, and to seeing what you guys will also have to produce into the world. And again, I thank you guys for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Ms. Walker. Thank you for sharing such beautiful paintings and artwork. And thank you for, you know, giving us the meaning of the blue in the paintings, which, you know, it's just a beautiful touch. We really appreciate it. And with that being said, I would like just to move forward. And actually, we're having such an amazing and beautiful time. That time is flying away. So amazing, so fast. So it's already 6:44, and it's another section that we would like to do kind of the roundtable for this event. So I would like to kind of ask some questions to some specific panelists, as we would like to respect your time. And thank you again for being here with us this afternoon. With that being said, I would like to ask Ms. Sarah Howard. Ms. Sarah, what's the reason it's important to these kind of projects or have these kind of conversations? And what happens if we don't?
Is this a lightning round? I'm just kidding. I think it's very important. I think as we've seen over the past 8 months that our public space has a lot of power and reflects our, you know, civic life and culture in really profound ways. And so I think to bring artwork and projects into that public realm, it really provides access and sort of a democracy to the artwork that's presented in the public realm. And I think that if we don't do these types of projects, that, you know, we're not reflecting who our publics are. And it's sort of like, who are our publics? What publics are we representing? And we need to be asking ourselves those questions, and the values that they're being represented and presented in this space, because it does have so much power.
We have some comment here from Dim Lemke. Public space has a lot of power, and that's such a good point. And thank you, Dim Lemke, for mentioning that. And thank you, Ms. Howard, for, you know, sharing with us your perspective. And I would like to ask the same question to Sam. Sam, why is it important to talk about these projects, and what happens if we don't?
I think art is a huge reflection of the communities that we are a part of, you know. Art has the capacity to engage people's intellect, their emotions, who they are in that moment. It has the capacity to challenge humans, right? And especially when we do that in ways that are accessible and inclusive to everybody, you give people the opportunity to become who they don't see themselves being in that moment. And I think that's really important. Otherwise, we end up staying in a stagnant space, having the same conversations and not allowing us to progress forward, both in our minds and the manner in which we want to imagine a world for ourselves. So I think that's why these conversations are incredibly important, because conversation by itself has power. And so then to add to that, public space too has a lot of power, as we can see from the chat.
Thank you so much, Sam, and thank you for sharing your perspective, and we really appreciate it. And now I would like to take the opportunity to ask Dr. Gonzalez, as you all know, she's our Chief Diversity Officer at HCC. Dr. Gonzalez, even though you kind of mentioned this information, what does equity, diversity, and inclusion mean to you? Once again, what does equity, diversity, and inclusion means to you?
Is that a trick question?
Possibly, yes.
Equity, one of the things that we have to think about is that equity does not necessarily mean same as or equal to. Is that, we have I like the aspect of access. I love the aspect of fairness, because even being fair, when you have, if you're a parent and you have several children, you treat each one the same? No, you treat them equitably. You give them equitable opportunity. You take care of the needs, and so that being equitable is extremely important. So it does not mean equal to or same as. That's very important. With respect to inclusion, I love that notion of belonging, that notion of believing that when you go somewhere or when you're in a particular environment, that you have that certain station where even if you disagree with someone, or even if you see an art form that you do not like, that you can at least be civil. So I like to couch both equity and inclusion within the realm of being civil, because civility matters. How we treat one another matters. How we even treat the earth and other living beings matter. And so I think it's great using, the theme of arts in public places. Now, I always like to also add spaces that, it feels good. When you're walking on the ground, it's not just grass, but you may see the grass, you may see a certain landscape or design that's so very artistic. I was thinking about something that I saw at the Mabry Campus. There was a pineapple growing, and the pineapple at the top had two prongs on it, if you will, two stems on the top instead of that one central one that you normally see. I took a picture of it because I thought it was beautiful. And to see a pineapple growing in the middle of a campus, really? I thought it was so beautiful because it made me think about my heritage in the islands, as an example, or coming from South Florida. And believe it or not, pineapples grow more than in Hawaii, in the Caribbean countries. I mean, some of the islands, Tarpon Bay, lots and lots of pineapples. So equity and inclusion, the notion of belonging, the notion of having that equitable opportunity and access are very important and key.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gonzalez. We really appreciate it. And actually, I like the way you compare equity with parenting. And I think, that's a very good comparison. So we will be able to kind of understand definitely better this perspective. So thank you so much. And I would like, as we kind of move forward, I would like to promote, if you would like to ask a question to the panelists, feel free to write it down in the chat and I'll be more than happy to ask them the questions, okay? I think we do have a question now, and public spaces are inundated and shackleable by histories and power hierarchies. Public art projects are an opportunity to challenge these viruses, break them down, mutated them, and open the spaces up to creating new paths and new communities. So thank you so much, Tory, for giving us that perspective. And that's a very good point and very, well said. I would like to ask, and if everyone will be able to kind of answer this question. We have another one, and I would like to ask why community participation is an important part of this process, and why is community participation an important part of this process or your process? And I would like to ask Langstn if you can answer that question.
Sure, I'd love to. It's kind of, it goes back to a point I mentioned earlier, where you can't, like when you're, for my example, with as far as doing murals or any type of public art, and especially if you're talking in the middle of a community, like a basketball court, a wall, something like that's a central place where everybody kind of congregates and enjoys one another. You just have to see where their head is at there. You have to see things that they like, something that moves them. For a basketball court, for example, what's something that's gonna make them want to play on that court, but keep coming back to that court or sharing their court with like other areas, like, hey, we have this really nice court over here. Not even like the excitement that it brings to an area where they've never had anything like that. They have people building up around them, tearing their homes down, like other homes down, and trying to close them in. And it's like, okay, well, when are we gonna get something like that? And to have something that will be in place there that they can just find some joy in and feel appreciated and feel like they were involved in that process. Like, yeah, we helped do this. Like, we gave them this idea and they were able to take it and turn it into this for us. This is, our community's project, not just, oh, it's a New Roots project. No, it's a community project. That's essential. You can't come into a place and just make rules. That you can't just overrun or bulldoze in there and just put your own agenda first. That's never okay.
Thank you so much for answering. And we have another question here. What are ways that art education institutions can develop programs that further diversity, the profession or ideas of the art curation? And I would like if Ms. Howard will be able to tell us about it. Once again, what are ways that art education institution can develop programs that further diversity, the professions or ideas of art curation?
Well, we certainly would like to bring more people into the fold, and working at a institution of higher education, oftentimes we can feel like an island, and we are not, or the ivory tower is often used as and it doesn't feel that we're really integrated with our communities. And one of the ways that we try to further and build audiences is to generate partnerships. This doesn't specifically answer the question about art curation, but that's one way that we work with education programs and reaching out, developing new partnerships, but not only establishing those partnerships, but really nurturing them and continuing to work with these partners. And we've done that with a number of groups that we can develop sort of that's mutually beneficial for both organizations to continue to develop those relationships. For expanding specifically art curation, I mean, I just tell people to do it, just do it. and you kind of have to find your path. But there's so many ways that people are engaging with art these days. We've seen some really creative impact ways that people are making work accessible through this pandemic, where there's PDFs that people can print out and make their own show in their house. Or, I know artists that do mobile artworks in their vehicles, whether they're, it's a dashboard gallery. But I think that working sort of on the fringes of the institution is often, there's a lot more freedom and accessibility, than being sort of within these larger institutions. Does that answer the question?
Yes, you did, Miss
Okay.
Sarah. Thank you so much. So I have a comment here from Miss Catherine. Thank you, Miss Catherine. I am part of the community arts board in my city, and we would like to approach the city about having the people in various communities create a mural for their area. So Ms. Catherine is saying that this forum is giving some great talking points that we can work with it. And thank you so much, Ms. Catherine, and very good point. And I have a question for Ms. Brianna Walker. Ms. Walker, I haven't forget about you, and I would like to hear your voice at this point. I have a question for you from Mr. Frankie Alvarez. So you mentioned doing art with young people. Mr. Frankie would like to know, do you take volunteers or anything? So he's not so much of an artist, but he has a lot of experience working with kids, and he would like to know if you guys are open to this.
I would say we are very open. Sorry, I'm in my kitchen. I'm trying to meal prep y'all, but we are very open to that. A lot of times it depends on who we are being contracted by or commissioned by, whether they would, like there to be volunteers, but we always ask if we are allowed volunteers, because after that experience doing the Black Lives Matter mural downtown Tampa, that was such a great experience. I met people from the same college that I went to. They just went at different times. I met their children. The kids were the biggest help, and it was just so amazing. One of the kids, he was like, I'm glad I came out today because I would have been stuck at home playing video games. And, nowadays they would rather be inside playing video games or watching TV. So it does make a very big difference. And I love working with kids. I used to be a substitute teacher before I became a flight attendant. So working with kids is a very big passion of mine. And anytime that we are able, if there is ever a time, when there's ever a time that we're able to take on volunteers for any type of mural or art projects that we do have, we'll definitely be posting about it. We'll make sure that that is clear in the information about said event so that everybody will get a chance to, come out and join in on a community art event.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. Thank you for sharing your point of view and perspective, and also kind of sharing your experience working as a substitute teacher. So thank you. And with that being said, if you look at the time, it's already 7 p.m. and time goes by fast when we are having a good time, when we are listening to such a great conversation, especially which I think most of us who are attending here today, we love art. And art is very close to our heart because, we promote the beautiful job that many people are doing in the community. So I would like to say thank you for everyone attending this beautiful event. And before we kind of wrap it up, I would like Ms. Amanda Post to join us, as she will have to do some closing remarks.
Thanks, Rafael. And really, I don't know where that hour went. It was a really lovely panel and such a lovely group of humans here with us tonight. I just want to say for all of you who are here with us, a little shameless promotion. We have one last fall event for Nest, which includes Sam, who you heard from a little bit ago. This will be a live workshop on Thursday, November 12th at 12:30 to 1:45 p.m. Through her other job. You heard about 2 so far, but she's also one of the founders of a group that does exercise-based dialogue approach. So please join us and sign up. You can do that in our Instagram bio. We have the Eventbrite link set up right there like you did for tonight's event. And that's with her group Rooted Resistance. So the Eventbrite link, my student worker just put there in the comment for you all. But if you want to keep up with the project as we go along and into fabrication, say like we just heard, if you want to be involved with some of our work in fabrication with Tory, just follow us on social media at Gallery221 HCC or hashtag Grounds4Art, and you'll be kept in the loop as we go along. You can also email me personally, apos@hccfl.edu if you have any follow-up questions. We're so thrilled to have you all here with us tonight. Thanks one last time to all of our panelists. I'll give you a little round of applause here. Much respect for each and every one of you. I learned so much. And at the end, we're going to replay just a quick slideshow with samples by Tory Tepp in our future nest sites. So thank you all and have a wonderful night.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you
for having us.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Good to see you guys.